We're going to talk recipe a little bit right here, and I actually need my little thing. This is going to be a Cliff Notes version of kind of how I would approach some of the style things that I'm going to be doing on the premium content. Again, so this is a really stripped down, quick version, mostly focused on the malt side of things. But here's Brad's question. We've been talking about some beer that he made. He made a Schwartz beer that was super easy drinking with 3470. He said, also, I accidentally added 8 ounces of chocolate malt instead of the quarter pound I wanted to. I ended up removing some of it by hand picking it out. It ended a bit too roasty for Schwartz beer, but it was still great. Is there anything that you would change? And so he's kind of asking me for a recipe breakdown here. And so this is what my take is on it. Always when I'm going to be writing a new recipe, what I do is I will go to probably both style guidelines, probably both the Brewers Association and the BJCP, pull that style up, and I'm going to look at all the recipe parameters, ABV, IBU, what the range is, starting gravity, finishing gravity. If you pull up the BJCP stuff, it'll give examples of the style. It'll give history on it, recommended ingredients, right? So you can do a lot right there. And this recipe that he sent me, I thought was pretty interesting. So for this Schwartz beer, and so a lot of times people talk about Schwartz beer as either black pills, right? Like a black lager, black pills. In particular, you can also make versions of this beer that are a little bit more porter-like, but that's not really what we're talking about here. I want to do a little bit more true to style beer that's not quite robust porter, right? But more black pills. So the recipe that Brad was working with was 52%. And I'm going to drop the tenths off of these, was 52% Pilsen malt, 36% Munich 2, 5% Munich Cara Munich 1, 4.5% chocolate, and 2.5% Carafa 2. So when I look at recipes, the first thing I do is I kind of break them into big chunks. All right. I look at one, what percentage of base malt am I using? What percentage of caramel malt am I using? What percentage of roast malt am I using? So in this recipe, there's only about 5% caramel malt in this, which I think is great, which is fine. I don't think you want to be throwing a ton of caramel malt into a dark lager like this. He does have, between the combination 30, so it's 80, 88, 89% base malt between the Pilsen and the Munich. The Pilsen is going to kind of be your white bread, right? And then the Munich is going to be a little bit of your bread crust. That's a way to layer up some malt character there. And then I also want to combine the roast malt numbers because I always look at these recipes by percentages. And so the Schwartz beer that he's brewing has 7% roast malt. And when we say 7% roast malt, we mean 7% actual husked roast malt. 7% is a fair amount. It's definitely going to get you the color that you want in a beer like this. But back to the recipe part of it. So you have 7% real roasted malt in here, meaning that is husked. I think that's going to get you a fair amount of roast character and maybe more roast than you want for this style. Okay. And that was kind of one of the things that you were saying is you feel like the base beer might be a little too roasty. Or the beer as you made it this time is a little too roasty. What I would encourage you to do is to take a little bit different approach. I would be doing with this beer, just kind of off the top, I would be looking at getting between like 80, 85% Pils malt into it, 10 to 15% Munich malt into it, and then get my color from like a Carafa Special 3. You had talked about using Carafa 2. Carafa 2 is great, but it does have the husk on it, so it's going to give you color and roast astringency. Okay. But that Carafa Special 2, the huskless, it will give you more color with less roast intensity, less astringency. Okay. And that would give you a little bit more of the of a smooth roast character as opposed to an aggressive roast character. One of the things that I like to do when I'm looking at beers like this is if you're looking at a recipe and saying, okay, so like 85% pills, 10% Munich, and then the rest craft, I want to do a little bit more. You can layer things in. Okay. So I'm a fan of, first of all, I'm a fan of simple recipes. So don't be afraid of simple recipes. But if you do want to layer up a little bit, I don't have a problem with folding in some different base malts, whether it be Pils, Vienna, Munich. You don't have to go over the top. You don't have to go crazy, but fold some different things in there, right? I would definitely, I would almost always suggest almost across the board, but go lighter with caramel malts in general. I think it's a pet peeve of mine, but getting that elevated level of residual sweetness in there can make it very tough. The other thing that I would suggest too is sometimes people will just say off the top with Schwarzbier, we'll go with all, go with all huskless. You don't have to do it like that. You can totally fold in some traditional roast malts as well. So don't hesitate on that. That would just kind of be my thoughts on that. Now, some of your options for that, you have Carafa Special, you have Midnight Wheat, which is huskless. You have Black Prince, which is huskless. There's others. Okay, so those are all things that you can be doing there. The other thing that I just want to mention, though, when we're talking about roast malts and beers, especially if you're looking for, if you're starting with a recipe or from someone else's point of view, something like that, always be referencing the actual color of those malts, because black malt from one place to another, roasted barley from one place to another, chocolate malt from one maltster to another, you can have wildly different color ranges. So just be really aware as you're going through that stuff. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you feel as if you got any value out of the video, please like and subscribe. There are also other videos that you can watch. They're gonna maybe be over here or over here. Appreciate you watching.